Start the recording. Yes.
Good morning. Welcome to our webinar. The webinar is sponsored by Nebraska Department of Education World Languages and CLTA US K-12. This is our 2022 Fall Guest Speaker Series. And this is our 10th webinar this semester. We're going to have more next semester. So now I would like to introduce NDE World Language Mission. By the way, I'm Crystal Liu. I'm Liu Xianquan. I'm the World Language Specialist at NDE, Nebraska Department of Education. Our mission is to empower educators to engage students in the authentic use of world language via standard-based instruction to fulfill a range of functions from expressing personal needs to communicating in the workplace and to establishing strategic relationship across cultures so that they may learn, earn, and live.
So, hello everyone.
Please? Yeah,
yes.
Go ahead. Thank you.
So I'm Hang Xin. I'm a member of the CLTA SIG K-12. So we are a special group, interest group of the K-12 classroom and the methodology. We'll create a professional platform to connect K-12 Chinese teacher from which they could update and refresh their Chinese classroom teaching skills and enrich their Chinese pedagogy and methodology.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Today, Dr. Fei Yu is going to present on the use of multimodality in world language classroom. And we have another webinar on November 12th. It's the same time from 10 to 11:30 Saturday. So it's going to it's offered by Elha Titarenko. It's a Russian teacher, professor at University of Nebraska at Lincoln. So please join us, register and join us on November 12th. If you are interested in joining the guest speakers to share your experience with world language teachers in and outside of Nebraska, please respond to the form. And we are looking forward to working with you. Now you can scan the QR code if you are interested. Recordings will be ready on this webpage in a week. So all the previous recordings are now ready to view. And yes, now let's introduce Dr. Fei Yu. She's a lecturer of Chinese at Bentley University, also a visitor lecturer at Framingham State University. She teaches language and culture courses for undergraduate students. Her specialization and research interest, I think, Dr. Yu, could you introduce yourself?
Oh, yeah. Okay, sure. I'm currently teaching at Benton University about language, culture, and business courses, and also teach language and culture courses at Framingham State. So I'm very interested in student learning motivation and attitudes, and also teachers' experience and abilities relating to foreign language education. So particularly, I'm interested in classroom-based researches, so concerning about real problems. Basically, that's pedagogy. So I'm looking forward to sharing this pedagogy strategies and also hearing more from the teachers, every teacher here.
Dr. Yu is actually Dr. Yu graduated from University of Nebraska at Lincoln. We have the same academic advisor, Dr. Muller. Mm-hmm. Yeah, welcome back to Nebraska.
Thank you.
Now, please take it away. Thanks.
All right. So let me share my screen. All right. So good morning, everyone. So it's so nice meeting all of you here. It's a lovely. So I'm in Massachusetts, so it's a lovely sunny day here. So how about Nebraska? I think it's most of you are from Nebraska. How about the weather there? It's good. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So first, thank you for invitation, Crystal, and thank you for the introduction, Yu Lao Shi. And so I would like to, my presentation topic is about the use of multimodality in world language classrooms. So I would like to actually start my presentation with a question. So first, what is metaverse? So metaverse is the latest buzzword in technology and business, right? But what do you think what it means? I believe many teachers have already known this concept, right? What it means. But now let's imagine if someone is explaining this concept to you the first time, and you may have some trouble understanding the concept. What do you think would help you to catch or understand this concept? Or in what way do you prefer the explainer to do in order to get the click moment? Okay, think about it. And let's see. So some of you may want the explainer to explain verbally to you. Some of you may prefer a picture, right, to show you what is metaverse. Some of you may prefer a YouTube video where Mark Zuckerberg talking about metaverse. Maybe some of you prefer a written definition, and sometimes some people prefer the connect the concept to our real life example, right? So all these are options. I believe some of you may prefer one of the option. Some of you may prefer the other, and even some of you like prefer the combination of these ways, right? So now let's think about this. So you have your own way to choose about how to the explanation for metaverse. Now let's think, if you want to explain this concept of metaverse to your kids, to your parents, to your students, what do you think they would like you to do in order to help with the understanding? Right? Think about this. Okay, so we may choose different ways. Our students may prefer YouTube. Your parents may prefer talk. It depends, right? So our answer, all people have different answers. Many people have different answers, and some might wish to choose a combination of them. This is actually the concept of learning style. So what is the learning style? So learning style means different ways of learning, right? So it categorizes people based on their style of learning or the way they learn best. Every individual has their own learning ways. So it may fall into one of these styles, or sometimes a combination of the styles, right? So actually, the concept of learning style was first recognized as early as 334 BC by Aristotle. Based on Aristotle, for each child possesses a specific talents and skills. So this is the first time the concept of learning style tried to emerge, right? And then the scholars after Aristotle also talk about their different understanding of learning as well. So for example, Lev Vygotsky, we are all very familiar with it, with Vygotsky, right? So based on Vygotsky, learning is social. So Vygotsky's theory stressed the fundamental role of social interactions in the development of cognition. He strongly believed that community plays a central role in the process of making meaning. So after Vygotsky, then we have Jean Piaget. Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive development actually indicates that there are 4 different stages of intellectual development, which they are. So At each stage of development, children's thinking is qualitatively different from the other stages. That is, each stage involves different type of intelligence. And then after Jean Piaget, we then have Gardner. So Howard Gardner theory of multiple intelligence. Maybe some of you are very familiar with it. Actually, I use his theory in my dissertation where I talk about the students' learning motivation. So based on Gardner, people are not born with all of the intelligence they will ever have. So in order to broaden his notion of intelligence, Gardner introduced 8 different types of intelligence in linguistics: logical, mathematical, spatial, bodily, aesthetic, musical, interpersonal, intrapersonal, and mutualist. So these are the 8 types of intelligence based on Gardner. So most recently, there are 3 different modes to explain the learning styles. One of the most popular one is a VARK model. This is created by a New Zealand teacher, Neil Fleming. So based on this model, there are 4 primary types of learning: the visual, auditory, reading, writing, and kinesthetic. So for each of this type of learning, let's briefly talk about this. So for visual, these people, when a person is categorized, is regarded as a visual learner, this person learns best by singing. So he or she responds to visual cues such as like images, graphs, or charts, right? So easily. So if your teacher tries to adopt this visual cues into the class, it helps this learner to learn. At the same time, this learner might be easily distracted by seeing things outside. Something happens outside of the classroom. Students going to be easily distracted. That's for visual learners. And then for oral learners, people are learn best by hearing. They can easily respond to or catch auditory cues like verbal instruction, discussion, or songs. At the same time, they are easily distracted by outside noises. So it happened to me sometimes when I try to work in my office, and if someone more than long outside, it's easy for me to get distracted. So it seems that I'm more like an audio or oral learner. And then the read and writing. So this category is actually sometimes listed as a subsection of the visual category. If you look at other modules, here at a VARK module, they put it by itself as a category. So people in this category, people learn best by reading and writing, responding to written cues such as lecture notes, books, and cue cards. At the same time, if we have poorly worded text or text that doesn't match the speech, then the learner is going to be distracted. Okay, and then last category is a kinesthetic. People under this category learn best by doing hands-on activities, responding to tactical cues such as movement, actions, and life experience, right? But they are easily distracted by uncomfortable seat in the classroom or room temperature. If room temperature is too high or too low for them, you'll be getting distracted easily. So these are the 4 models under Neil Fleming's VARK model. Besides the model, there are actually different questionnaires for the students try to figure out which model which category they are based on the questionnaire. So they can answer the VARK questionnaire to discover their own learning styles. So besides the VARK questionnaire, there are also other questionnaires such as MBTI. I think most of you may be familiar with this. MBTI, that's a Myers-Briggs type indicator. So it often offers more insights into how individuals learn the best. And based on Myers-Briggs type indicator, there is also the type founder personality test. It measures a person's preference on Myers and Briggs 4 dimensions of personality type, but also at the same time, there are also 23 more detailed types to personalize the results. Actually, at the university we are now, students are required to to do the MBTI every year to try to figure out their learning styles. And also this report going to be really give some ideas about the teachers in the class for their teaching in their curriculum development and instruction as well. All right, so then about we talk a lot about learning styles, right? So about learning styles, we agree that, and also it is based on research, it is agreed that every person have his own learning style. And we, as teachers, we need to know how our students learn best in order to plan for instruction. That's what we agree, right, about learning style. But the question comes then, there is a however here. Question is learning actually that simple, right? So the complex, how our brain learns, or the complexity of how the brain learns is not as simple as distinct modalities or these distinct categories, learning style categories, right? So our most recent neurobiology research tells us that when we learn, our brains actually have all this constant wiring and rewiring activities happening. So that means our learning it's updating. Our learning it's an evolving process, right? So how we are learning is actually constantly evolving. Most accurately, we actually use a combination of auditory, kinesthetic, visual, and reading and writing, all these modules, all these styles. And it depends on the purpose, our motivation, and audience. We may learn differently depending on the level of complexity, right? Sometimes if the task is more complex, more challenge, more tough, our brain may choose to use this style instead of that one, right? So it depends. The complexity of the task actually then decide the model we choose sometimes. All right. And second, if we could label and categorize each student based on their learning style, like you belong to video, you belong to audio, right? Or you belong to kinesthetic. Let's assume that a student's effort and ability are not connected to their success, right? For some extreme cases, we may think that a teacher's ability to categorize a student as what kind of a learner is even more important than their success. So that's not what we want to see, right? Okay, so in one word, so learning is not that simple, as simple as this modalities, distinct modalities, right? Okay, and then let's go back to our metaverse question, which I posted at the beginning of our presentation, right? We see that some people may choose to watch a YouTube video to understand concept. Some people may choose to some people prefer verbal explanation. Some people prefer images, right? But some people, most of the time, we may prefer the combination of this. We may prefer verbal explanation, and after that, we prefer a YouTube video, right? Actually, for most people, we are multimodal learners. That means we are not just learn by one model. We are learn through different combinations, right, of models. And also because learning is evolving all the time. It's not there, like just a linear process, it's evolving. So that helps us to see that many people need not just one model, and also we need a combination of this. And in our daily communication as well, most interactions or communications are multimodal as well, right? There are very few occasions where someone just communicate using just one model. For example, in the classroom, right? When we try to teach, if we just read from the textbook, that's a model in our traditional classroom. If we just read from the textbook, students, it really doesn't help students to stimulate and to prepare them for stimulate their minds and prepare them for the real world situation. So let's see, many people, we based on the research, many people are multimodal learners, and that's why multimodal learning or multimodality come to our attention, right? So what is multimodal learning? Multimodal learning in education. So in education, multimodal learning is means the teaching concept using different ways or using multimodal modes. So what is modes then? Modes means channels of information or anything that communicate meaning in some way. For example, the pictures, images, audios, speech, writing, print, music, movement, gesture, facial expression, colors, more, you name, right? All these are modes. Modes are actually experienced in different ways by each of our senses. By different modes with different senses to feel it. Usually we have a visual, auditory, tactical. These are different modes of our senses to feel different ways of information, right? But most importantly, they often interact with each other. They create a dynamic learning process. That's why we say learning is evolving process. This is dynamic experience. For example, an educational video, if you use a video in the classroom, it might include speech, image, music, and text, all of which can help improve the student learning experience together, right? So this is multimodal learning, right? And so based on, so here is the definition for multimodality or multimodal based on Massaro in 2012. So multimodal learning refers to embodied learning situation, which engage the multiple sensory system and action system of the learner. So that basically means you have different modes, try to activate your different senses, and then to help students to learn. Okay. And then this is another definition I would like to point out. It's from WIDA. So based on WIDA 2020 version, multimodality is the use of multiple means of communication. It is an essential way for all students to access and engage in the content areas. In addition to the use of spoken and written language, students also communicate through gestures, visual expressions, images, equations, maps, symbols, diagrams, charts, videos, graphs, computer-mediated content, and other means. So this is the most recent definition for multimodality from WIDA. So I would like to talk something about about WIDA. Some of you maybe may know this WIDA. Used in Massachusetts. So actually, it's used in 41 states in the United States and also other international schools around the world. So WIDA stands for World-Class Instructional Design and Assessment. So WIDA actually designs language development meant for early childhood, K-12 multilingual learners. So in its 2020 version, in positioning the 2020 version to spotlight the variety of ways in which language is used in content areas. So this is one of the topics in WIDA. So language should be in content areas. That's also the context we refer to in our word language classrooms, right? Okay, so WIDA, in order to emphasize, spotlight the use in content areas learning, use of language in content areas. WIDA is drawing educators' attention to multimodality, active use of multiple means of communication. All students are able to combine to both interpret and express ideas with greater flexibility when using multimodal resources. Multimodal allows all students to use multiple means to engage, interpret, and express their ideas in classrooms. That's from WIDA. So let's see, here is a paragraph, the explanation from WIDA about multimodality. So based on WIDA, multimodality is inherent to and essential for how students make meaning and engage in simpering practices. In addition to the use of spoken and written language, students also communicate through gesture, facial expression, image, equation, maps, symbols, all these different ways, different modes to help them to learn, to try to them access, to really like help them analyze the new meaning that we are trying to deliver to students in the classroom, right? So this is a beautiful picture from WIDA as well. So in this, so it's about communication modes. So in the language expectations, we know that the 4 traditional domains: listening, reading, writing, speaking, right? Listening and reading are input side, and writing outside, reading and speaking output side. So in WIDA, all these 4 traditional language domains are consolidated into 2 inclusive modes of communication. So they are interpretive and expressive. So interpretive is the input side plus viewing. So that is interpretive, including listening, reading, and viewing. And the output side is expressive. Besides our traditional modes of writing and speaking, we also include representing, right? So these 2 broader modes of communication, interpretive and expressive, actually increase accessibility options for students and emphasize the multimodal forms of communication, which actually try to create more modes in the classroom to help students have access, and give teachers the ideas about what is multimodality or multimodal learning is, right? So it's a different way. And then besides this, if you go to Google or any research paper, you see they talk a lot about multimodality or multimodal learning. Everybody knows multimodal learning is very important in your classroom. And then as teachers, the most important thing for us to know is how can we adopt this multimodal learning in our own classrooms, right? Even our most confident, experienced teachers have this question all the time. Are my students listening? Are they really engaged? Are they really learning? Am I really deliver the information in the right way to help my students learn? All these are questions I believe all of us as teachers have, right? So because our students learn differently. In some at most schools, we have hundreds of students every day. So they all learn differently. So then how can we really make our classroom very effective for most of students or all of the students, ideally? So that's where multimodal learning comes in. Okay. So teacher consents, and then we have multimodal learning strategies. If you try to read online, you will see a lot of strategy there. And basically, multimodal learning strategies, we try to incorporate different modes to meet students' learning styles. And also, we know that many students are multimodal learners. So as maximum, we try to incorporate more modes into your class, and then that's going to help you to really satisfy your students' needs, and also because learning is an evolving process. So try to evolve different modes at different stages. So it's try to treat it as a changing process, learning as a changing process. And also we have a big group of students, and so try to incorporate more modes as many as possible. And also we need to know the students' learning style and needs first. That's our basis, right? Okay, so in order to show you how to use the multimodal learning in our classrooms, I'm going to show you a demo lesson. So it's a Chinese it's about the Chinese numbers. So I will try to, I believe I did this demo lesson to teachers. None of them speak Chinese. I try to use only Chinese in the class because I do want them to have a learner perspective about learning new language. So because today I believe all of us learning Chinese, so I will try to use Chinese Chinese my best, and also sometimes I will explain in English as well. Okay, so this is a demo lesson about learning Chinese numbers. So are we ready? Right. So 我们首先我们学习目标，我们有学习目标第一，我能用中文从1数到10。第二，我能用中文数字表达物体数量。So here for learning objective, I actually use both English and Chinese here, because I believe most of us have Indian learners in the classroom, right? but with only Chinese, I only speak Chinese to try to like immerse them in the Chinese environment, EL language only environment. Okay, then so 我们来看一下这个图是什么。I will ask them to guess. I only show them characters here. Ask them to guess what is. Students are going to like show their hands and try to like they're always very like excited about this about new things, right? 这是什么？ And then next step, I show them something more. Okay, besides characters, I show them pinyin as well. So let's give them more information here. Character plus pinyin. So students try to read it. Some of them, it's easy because pinyin is very intuitive for our English learners, English speakers, right? So they will most of the time they have no big problem reading it. So they read it. They may not know the meaning here. That's the thing. So it's really like for students' attention or their interest to really explore the topic, right? And then so I will actually have them read with me, or we will try to read. I will ask them to try to read with their partner and together as in a group. And after that, I will show them the postures. Okay, so now I would do it with them together. And so here gestures I use here help them to like okay and process the information in different ways, right? If that student is more into tactical movement, right? It really helps. Bring them the click moment. The gestures will do 3 or 5 times. Sometimes students are so into it, they ask more. They ask for more times. Okay. At the same time, I will provide them the handout as well with all the information, gestures, pinyin, and characters. With all the information in the handout, each student get a handout from me. Okay. So after that, I give them handout, and then based on the handout, we will do the first activity. That is do as they say as they do. So 你说我做，我说你做. That's activity. So student, because with the handout I give them, right? So they don't really like feel anxious that they have help there, and they do it. Students are very confident to do it with the help of handout. Some students with high motivation will try it by themselves. They will just get to the handout and try it, and that's great. I always encourage them to do that. I don't push them to do it. You always have options there. That's the first activity. Then after this, we will do that. Sometimes I say it. We do it. Sometimes I do and say. When I feel that okay, students feel pretty comfortable. Some of them really want to try more. I will ask some of the students come to the classroom, in front, come to class, in front of the class, and then do or show the rest of the students. So the student will the leader. They play the role as a teacher. So do it or then give the instruction to the rest of the student. Okay, so that's going to be very going to be an exciting moment in the classroom as they do something. And then I'll ask them to watch a video. I'll show you the video it's a video about numbers. So let me sharing here. All right, so this is a video about numbers. We actually use it in the Star Talk program. Crystal is there as well. It's a very popular video, and the music, students love that.
Oh, no sound.
Oh, 没有声音吗？ No sound. Okay. All right.
You may need to change the setting
Yeah,
to connect with audio. Yeah.
I need to click on that. Okay. Here's sound. No, how about number? 有了吗？
零一二三五六。Wait a minute. Okay, go. 六。七。八。这个九。十。Are you sure?
Yeah, sure. So sure.
Okay, let's try together.
Let's go.
All right.
零
因为时间关系，我就放一遍。All right, so that's the video I will show to my students. So this is the second round of the input. Okay, the second round of input with a video. So after the video, students are going to do something else. So let's see. So I will actually ask them to 让他们数糖 candies. So usually I bring some like Chinese candies from the Asian market. So it's actually a good opportunity for them to like get to know about Chinese culture as well. We have different candies in Chinese culture now in China. So I always bring this candy to them and then ask them to count. And at this time, I will ask them to put their hand out aside. So because the first round of activity, they do it with the gestures, do it with the hand out, right? But this time, with the second time input, the video, I ask them to get rid of your handout. Let's do it. Try your best to do it. Okay. So I tell them first, give them phrase 5颗糖. And I don't actually explain the measure word here. I just give them phrase and ask them to understand. I explain them to all the concept in Chinese. I mean, with pointing, with gesture. I will demo to them how I count this candies. I would demo for them first, and then make sure they understand my instruction, right? And then I will ask them. I will show them how use the question mark 几颗糖. Then students, I give them instructions. Now I will use the gesture like, okay, 5颗糖, 5颗, they will pick up. Each student, each group, I put them into groups. So it really like help them to lower their anxiety level, work in groups. Each group gets a bunch of candies from me. So then they count based on my instruction. And sometimes when a group becomes the winner, this group gives the instruction like 10颗糖, 3颗糖. So they are very excited. And also when at the end, all this candies become their treat. So they really work very hard on this time. Okay. Also, and after that, it takes usually like it's 6 to 8 minutes to do this activity. Sometimes they ask for more. And then after that, I will have the third activity. It's about Kahoot. I love Kahoot because my students love it, and I feel like it's very interactive. So I use Kahoot a lot in my class. It's short, I mean, but it really like get students' attention there. And it's also I always put it as a ending activity. So really try to quick test to see how students work, how does everything going. So I will show you guys. Let's see, quickly see how this Kahoot works. I put it in a contest. So let's see.
Dr. Yu, Can you adjust your screen a little bit because people see only half of your face?
Oh, okay. How about now?
Yeah.
OK。好，现在老师们不介意的话可以做一下，因为就2道题。How many apples? Great. Okay, we have Kevin is the winner. Okay, this is usually the most exciting moment, the podium. So it helps as a teacher, it helps to give me a quick idea about how students doing. Go back. All right. So Kahoot, as I said, I always take it as a ending activity to give the teacher give me a quick idea about how students work. I don't think it should be long. It depends. I mean, how much information, new information you give your students, and it can be very short. And so based on the result, we can it then help me to decide how much time I needed to spend next class to help students to review. Okay, and so that then after that we'll basically we finish the whole class, and then we come back to revisit our learning activities and to double check with students if they get to the their learning objective. Actually, they achieved it or not. Students will give me some up and down to show they get it or not. So that's basically I give them feedback, and so that's about a demo lesson. So now after demo lesson, let's go back to the multimodal learning, the concept of multimodality again, right? So my question is, what are the types of multimodal approaches or communication modes used in the demo lesson? Let's see. Okay, so any ideas from others? Do you see any types of multimodal approach or different communication modes used in the demo lesson? Okay, because of the time, let me see. Okay, I'll say it out as well. Okay, so let's see. So let's go back to the beautiful picture from Wheeler again. So I put a big bubble here, but there's opening here, you see. That means we can put actually a lot of modes inside it, right? So in this, in my demo lesson, you see I used images videos, gestures, hand gestures, and symbols as well, right? Symbol and the character, although they don't really understand it, but symbol as well, right? And so it's really, these are the different modes from the input side. So besides the unimodal, besides the traditional ways of just show the things on the whiteboard and ask a student to read it, I use different ways: the video, images, gestures, right? And besides, and also the output side, we use movement. I do, you say, I do. Student become the leader, come to the front, in front of the classroom, they say it, give instruction, right? They move, they use gesture, they count the candies. We use Kahoot activity, computer mediated things. And facial expression, you see the excited moment when they get it, when they count the, when they get the treat, candy treat, when they get the count correctly. All this can be regarded as multimodal, different modes in the learning, right? So besides all this, we included in my my lesson, there are actually different ways. I mean, based on the topic you have for your class, right? So we can have equations sometimes and maps if you want, if you try to introduce some historical event, right? And the symbols, diagrams, chart, graphs, all this can be used in your class to really help students to learn. But the first thing is that we need to know more about our students, right? So to know about their learning styles. Then it will help you decide your instruction and the curriculum. Okay. So I have a discussion question for our teachers. This multimodal approaches help to meet the needs of learners. What is it? I think different experience, because all of us know Chinese. It's because we are the speaker of that language. So when we, I mean, imagine if someone teach you Japanese or the language you never learned before, the numbers. Let's compare. Teacher A just to show you the numbers and ask you to read it with him or her. And the teacher B try to like evolve different modes of learning, like videos, images, gestures. Which way do you think is helpful, right? Try to think about this. And the same is for our students, because our students, most of our students have never learned the language before, and even they learned it before, right? And they may not learn the topic you're giving them that day. So multimodality or multimodal learning actually supports our universal design of learning. So compared to the unimodal learning we have in traditional classroom, right? Multimodal learning actually more effective, will help students to achieve their learning success, learning goals. Because the different ways of learning is not just to satisfy the evolving learning process, right? The wiring or rewiring that are happening in our brains. And also it helps to satisfy the needs of our different needs. We have such a great variety of students population there. Their learning styles are different. So multimodality, to some extent, helps to meet the students' needs as well. Okay. And then I would like to, so this, talk more about learning, the benefits of learning modality. So first, the multimodal learning. So first, it helps to construct knowledge, right? So either you show the picture, or then you, let's say in the class, in the class, you are talking about a paragraph. You first ask the students to read it, right? After that, you give your presentation. The presentation, you try to include images, videos, all these things that you think will help your students to learn. And after your presentation, you ask a student to do some activities, hands-on activity, group activity, right? All these are actually different modes of learning. Students use different sense. You are trying to activate students' different senses and try them to learn. And so this process is actually the process of knowledge construction, right? Okay, so multimodal learning actually helps to activate all the senses in our learners, try to help them construct the knowledge. And also it helps to learn, it engages students to learn, right? We just ask them to sit there and say, okay, you read this for me. It's different, totally different from you have them work in groups, count the candies together, do the Kahoot game together, right? So it's different. So students are more excited. They are more engaged with multimodal learning style, learning ways, right? And also it helps to satisfy the needs of diverse learners. Because we have different learners come from there's such a big variety. Everybody have their learning styles. It is impossible for us to sit down and do the presentation for each of the students, right? As a teacher, we need to do is to try to create a well-rounded multimodal learning environment for my students. The way to do this is to incorporate different modes of learning. That's how can we try our best to incorporate different modes of learning to meet our students' needs, and based on their needs and their learning backgrounds. Okay, and my final thought about learning modality of multimodal learning or multimodality. So first, to properly implement multimodal learning, teachers first needed to understand the learning styles. So learning styles, we said, different ways of learning, right? But there is some discussion or some debate about how to use the learning styles. I think for some time, for some periods, people are so focused in learning styles, so they try to categorize the students. The teacher try to categorize, or you are belong to this learning style, you belong to this style. But this is not actually the purpose for learning style. Learning style is to help teachers to see we have all different learning styles, and then help us to design our instruction or curriculum accordingly, how to adopt the different ways, different modes in order to meet the needs from students' different learning styles. That's what we need to see, right? Okay, and the multimodal learning environment supports the need for differentiated instruction, considering all learning needs and help every student succeed. To create a multimodal learning environment at your school. So it really helps, as I said, a well-rounded learning environment is to know students' needs, to know learning styles. Learning styles are different. Everybody have different learning styles. Then for one person at different stage of learning, they have different learning styles as well. We need to know that. Once you get to know that, and then try to adopt the different modes, right? Try to design your curriculum instruction accordingly to maximize the multimodal style in your design to meet the student's need. And then last, a multimodal learner will thrive in a comprehensive learning environment that uses visual, auditory, and kinesthetic inputs, both verbal and nonverbal. So that's again equal to the multimodal learning style again. So basically, as teachers, we have a lot to do. In order to have a multimodal learning environment, a well-rounded model learning environment, we first need to think about we first need to know we take our students as learning, give them the learning agency, because they are the person who learn, right? We need to know their learning background, learning styles, learning preferences, right? Their language background as well. So they have the agency in learning. And then we need to have different modes available, right? Visual, writing, besides the four traditional domains, right? We have expressive, interpretative as well. Try to expand your mode. And also we need to know the modal affordances. That is, different models, they may be used in different contexts, right? And if you use one certain model differently, different topics, it's going to have a different function there. So try to use different modes smartly, to match with your student's need and the student for certain topics as well. And also use some technology. Sometimes, I mean, it's not a must. I mean, it always technology always help because we are in the technology time, right? Everybody have no technology. If you adopt some technology in the class, it's going to be a plus, right? But when you use it, you try to like incorporate the new information in the technology. Right? You have students use technology as a facilitator to help them facilitate them to learn. Okay, and then social context. That is the context because learning is not like when you learn things, you cannot learn it separately, right? We always mention that we should learn we should teach students new knowledge, new meaning in the context. So social context is always important for us to know and always put our language in the context. That way it makes meaning for students. And also, as I mentioned before, for all the communication, right? In our daily communication, they are all multimodal. I mean, most of them are multimodal. There are only few occasions we only use one mode there. Most of the time when you speak, right, you use your gestures, you use your facial expressions as well, right? So all these are multimodal. If our daily communications are multimodal, so that's what we need to do in our classroom as well. We need to make our classroom as real as possible and to try to help students to learn through the multimodal, create the multimodal environment to help them to learn. Okay, so that's it. That's it. I don't know. So yeah, well, also we kind of early today. All right, so that's for my presentation, and then question QA time. If you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you very much. This is a very interesting topic. Yeah, I saw one of the teachers, Fan Lao, she left for some other activities, but she left a comment in the chat saying that when you're using are students going to eat them as one of as a process or in the procedure, something like that.
Students, what?
Eating the candy. Are they eating the candy or?
Are they eating the candy or eat the candy? Oh yeah. So during the activity, they are not allowed to eat it. So only after the activity. So it's like a trick for them after the class. They can eat it after the class. Yeah. So not during the activity. If that's the case, it's going to be a big mess. They're trying to eat it during the activity. Yeah, after the activity. So I usually brought different candies because I think that's a good way to embed culture as well. The food is a big part of the culture. So sometimes students are very interested. They are talking about, okay, I see this. Once I went to the Chinese restaurant, I saw this before. Why do you Chinese people love this candy? So I will give you some time to explore a little bit about the topic as well, the cultural part as well.
Yeah, and also we need to establish some class routine so they don't mess up, don't eat the candy before they should.
Yeah. And some students have allergies as well, so we really need to pay attention to that to let them know beforehand. I mean, I always show them the pack to show them the ingredients. Yeah, that's always the classroom routines.
I see Lin Zihan Laoshi make a very interesting comment that it reminds me of a TPRS, which is I think that's part of the kinetic part learning style, something about that. So I wonder if anybody used the modality to explain TPRS yet. Yeah. So have you seen anything to link it to the TPRS?
Yeah, I mean, TPIS, that's very, yeah, I think that's a good connection because TPIS basically try to help put every vocab in, put the new information or new vocab into a story, right? And then we act it out. So I think that's a good way to illustrate multimodal learning. because multimodal learning actually supports the universal design of learning. So that's opposed to unimodal learning. Traditional classroom, we only like to have students read it or say it out. So PPRS is a good echo to multimodal learning, because you are not just learn the vocab, you put it in the context. That's a story. And when you put in the context, the teacher is not just reading the story to you. The teacher tries to act it out. And besides acting it out, the teacher use a lot of modes. Like sometimes they use gestures, of course, and sometimes they use performance as well. Sometimes they use images, and they use video some as well. So TPRS is a good illustration about multimodal learning. I think that's a good connection. Thank you. Yeah, I will incorporate this into my future presentation.
So personally, I was interested about this topic. So actually I typed in the learning style affect the learning results in Google Scholar. However, I find some article actually shows the results is not very strongly have very strong relationship or correlation between the learning style and the learning result. So I guess sometimes it's a question worth to research maybe. I sometimes I feel like if the students' motivation is strong enough, they still will get it anyway. But of course, I support the idea, which is the multiple. We need the right vary our inputs to let students have a different experience on the learning.
Yeah. I think learning style, this is once a very popular topic. Like we try to, even like students try to figure out what kind of learning style I do have, right? But I would say many people, they are not just belong to one learning style. They are actually sometimes they are combination of learning styles. But for everyone, they have a dominant learning style. So that's why we say that many people, they are actually multimodal learners. So they're not just belong to one of the style. I mean, even for different topics, for this topic, you may more of this learning style, and for that topic, you may more of that learning style. And also because of our learning is a not simple process. It's a very complex. Our brain is working, right? There's a wiring process and rewiring. So it's an evolving process as well. And at different stages of learning, we learn differently. At this beginning stage, we may more into like a visual. In the middle stage, we may more like movement, right? So different stages. So because of the complexity of learning, and also because our learning complex of learning style as well for each individual. So that's why we need the multimodal learning. So as a teacher, it's impossible for us to include all things into one class. What we can do is to try to incorporate based on students' needs as many modes as possible and put them in a meaningful context to help students to learn. Yeah, that's the way I think that currently we can do for our students. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the way you mentioned about in a meaningful context. Sometimes we want to include everything, but we need to thinking about our lesson planning and how the stages of student learning and student progress, and also see how constantly check for understanding, and then we move to the next step.
Yeah.
Not just include everything, right?
Yeah. So multimodal is actually a good way to check comprehension as well. Check students like the Kahoot is a quick check, right? And so it's not just a way to help you design instruction and also help a teacher. I mean, it's a good way for a teacher to self-reflection as well. Okay, you need to really think about what kind of activities or what kind of modes help my students to learn. My current modes really help my students to learn. So I need to really involve this part, not just I want to do a fancy class. I need to incorporate all the modes. It's like that. They really meet my students' needs. That's the important question we need to always asking ourselves. even like for, I mean, beginning Chinese, this year students may be different from next year students, right? So we need to really like adapt, I mean, like adjust our instruction like accordingly. So always the first step, get to know your students, get to know the learning background of your students. That's the most important. Mhm.
Yeah, always think about rationale to include
rationale.
certain modes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Any questions? Any more questions? Thank you.
Okay. I think no more questions.
Questions?
No more questions. And I think since Halloween is at the
Yeah,
corner,
Halloween.
it's coming, and we
Happy
have a lot of
Halloween.
fun to do, a lot of things to do. I think it's fun. It's fine. We have extra minutes to enjoy the weekend, right? Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Yu. Thanks,
Thank you.
Yuhanxin老师. Thank you. Thanks for coming to our webinar. I really appreciate your support.
Mhm.
Thank you. Everybody have a
everybody.
nice weekend.
Happy Halloween.
Have a nice Halloween. Bye bye.
Bye.